Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. I'm your host, Greg Lassiter. Today we have, I think, one of the best shows we ever gonna have. I have a guest. He is a renowned designer, a Globetrotter, and he's here. He's an amazing person. So don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Globetrotter. I'm Jon Haggins, and I'm here with... Welcome to Globetrotter. I'm Jon Haggins, and I'm... Welcome to Globetrotter. I'm Jon Haggins. I'm here in Paris, and Paris is magic. You know what's so special about the Bordeaux region? It has so many chateaus, and we're here feeling Segura, and it is just sensational. Welcome to Globetrotter. I'm Jon Haggins. Superb. Remember, my world is your world. So get up, get out, and travel.
Welcome back. So he's in the studio. His name is Jon Haggins. Jon, welcome to 30 Frames. How are you?
I am delighted. And I saw some things I haven't seen in a long time. Can't move like that anymore.
Sure you can, Jon. Jon is your renowned fashion designer. You're a Globetrotter. Jon, you're the voice in TV. You're everything. Jon, tell us, first before we get to Globetrotting, where'd you grow up?
In Florida for the first 9 years. And then I came to New York, which was an explosion, a cultural shock. Couldn't believe it.
So
tall buildings, people.
So what inspired you to tell us about being a fashion designer?
Well, actually, it was in junior high school. I made a drawing for the yearbook, and then I was sort of fascinated by how does this whole come about, you know? And so I went on to a regular high school, and they had an illustration class, but I wanted to know, how's the garment put together? So I transferred to the High School of Fashion, and there I learned all about clothes and sleeves and all that sort of stuff. And from there, I moved on to FIT.
Right. So you were big in fashion, Jon. As you can see, that was Studio 54, right?
Yeah.
Jon, you knew everybody. You were that guy.
Oh,
You were that guy. What made you stop? Or do you still do it?
Oh, no. No, I don't do any fashion. I've been in fashion for over 30 years at
Really?
this point. Yeah.
You don't even, no, you're not that old.
Oh, I am. I'm very old. However, I started when I was 22 years old, so that was a whole other thing. And I stopped when I was 27, 28.
What made you stop?
A lot of things. I was going through a divorce at the time and so forth. And then what happened was I went off and started singing. And then after singing, I came back to fashion again. And then I left fashion because fashion wasn't what it was when I was in it originally. Because, for instance, a store would give you a confirmation, and that meant it was their merchandise.
Right.
And then when I came back, a store would give you a confirmation, and then if they didn't sell it, they wanted to return it. How can you do that?
Right.
Excuse me. You know, you got rent, you got people, you
Right,
got all this
right,
stuff to
right.
pay. I mean,
Sure.
you know, as a small manufacturer, you can't do that.
Right.
And what they do nowadays when you have sample sales is that the stuff has been returned from the stores, so
Right.
what they want to do is get their at least wholesale price for it, and that's how you get sample sales.
Right.
Because they're still doing it. And I think it's a horrible
It's
way
a horrible
to do
way to
business.
make money, yeah.
Yeah.
No, my God. Designers, unless you're a big house, can't last. A small
Exactly.
designer can't last.
No.
But then, John, you're what we're called, you're our Globetrotter.
Okay.
Okay. So you have traveled. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a lot about that.
Of travel, travel has always been my passion. When I was probably 6 years old, I would go and visit this lady in the neighborhood in Florida, and she was an invalid, and on her wall was this incredible picture, or painting actually, of Venice. And I kept thinking, Venice, is that like Mars? I mean, you know, the child's imagination.
Right.
And I always wanted to go to Venice, which is one place I haven't been yet. But
Really?
I was just in Bologna, which is only an
I love
hour
Bologna.
ride.
Right.
You know,
Of
by
all the
train.
places you've been, you've never been to
It's strange.
Venice. Yeah.
It's strange. I don't know why. But anyway, one day, it's still on my bucket list.
Right.
And then what happened was that as a child, because the family was all over Florida, we would go and do weekends here, there, and all over. So we were traveling locally, or domestically, I should say. However, as an adult at 22, I was walking down the street, and a friend said, there's a trip to Rio for $365,
Right.
including hotel, transfer, and airfare.
Wow.
I didn't even know what a transfer. I didn't even know where Rio was. I thought it was Reno, Nevada. So we got on this plane, 9 hours nonstop. I thought, are we ever coming down?
Are we there yet?
Yeah, right. And so we landed, and the most beautiful people, and the guys were wearing high heels
Right.
at that time in the 60s, and it was just, I had never seen those high heels before.
Really? Like,
Nor the
does it not
language.
the platforms, but high heels?
High heels,
Okay.
yeah. And they were thick, you
Right,
know, the
right, right.
60s.
Right.
And it was just such an amazing experience, plus the samba.
Right.
Oh, an introduction to something that I'd never done before in my life.
Is that what inspired you to dance?
No, dancing has just been something that I've done forever and ever and ever. And the way that I got into, actually, I was designing, actually I had a million jobs when I
Right.
first got out of school. None of them worked. I didn't know anything. They would fire me in a day, or my shortest job was a day, and then, you know. And within a week, I had 3 jobs.
Right,
and each one with an increase. I lied my
Well,
way
at least
through
you
it.
were moving forward, right? Okay.
And I was unemployed, and I would make a dress a day, and this friend of mine, Myrna, we would go off to Arthur, which was Sybil Burton had just divorced Richard Burton.
Right.
And so she loved us, and we were there every night.
Right.
And once we got there, we didn't have to pay for anything because, you know, the drinks were coming and
Right,
everything.
right.
Everybody loved us. So it was just a great time.
Right.
And then I said, you know, I've got a collection here. Let me call up the magazines. So I looked at the masthead.
Well.
And I remember the first person that saw me was Randy Marcel at Mademoiselle.
Right.
She said, no, these are for Vogue.
Right.
So upstairs I went to Vogue, and they loved it. And the next thing I knew, we had a double truck in Vogue, which is 2 pages,
Right,
on
right.
Marissa Berenson on the island of Mauritius. I'll never forget that. It was 67 January.
Wow.
And so that was the beginning. And then it was, you know, besides that, there was Harper's and Town and Country and every
Right.
other magazine
Right.
and newspaper.
Right.
And it was just one of those great flows. As a matter of fact, the Schoenberg Library has a whole collection of 12 boxes of editorials from when I was in the fashion business.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we saw, and I think on the intro, Nat had put up a little bit about the Schomburg up there. I don't know if you saw that. But John, now when you travel, John is known as the Globetrotter. He has a show here called the Globetrotter.
Exactly.
Now, John, when you go, how do you plan your trips to go? What inspires you to go?
Actually, I make a list in the beginning of the year, and I say, well, these are the places that I want to go. And if I don't make it to those places, I will put them on the list for the next year.
Right.
But somehow, I wind up, like I'm thinking of going to Holbox, which is
Right.
one of my favorite places in the world. It's the most relaxing.
It's in Mexico. Right,
Yes.
right.
It's an incredible destination. And the property is fantastic and so relaxing. It's right on the beach. You look out of your window and you're seeing palm trees
Right.
and the beach.
Right.
And they've got a bar on the beach. I mean, hey, what else can
What
you
else can
ask
you-
for?
Right.
It's perfect.
Right. So, John, so when you go to these places, like I've seen your show, guys. You have to watch your show. you don't go to typical places. These are like specialized places. How do you find those places?
Well, it's interesting. I met someone from Tunisia, and they said, you have to come to Tunisia. I didn't even know where Tunisia was at the time.
Okay.
And I went, and I've been there 9 times.
Right.
Love it, love it, love it. And because we've gone the mountains, to the sea, to the deserts. It's just an amazing thing. And I said, you know, I want to see what the young people do here. I'm tired of the rocks. I've seen enough rocks. So we did the whole thing. We have a Miami Beach there, as a matter of fact, all the young people. And I thought, this is an incredible place. You can't get alcohol unless you're at one of the hotels.
Really?
You don't have bars on the street.
Right.
You know, there was one, I found it.
Right, of course you did. Of course you did. Right.
You know, but generally, you know, but the people is so incredible. They have a museum for dates. 250 different kinds of dates. Amazing.
Dates as in the dates?
Yeah, from the palm tree.
Really?
Yeah. And I had a guy go up to the very top, got a whole bunch of grapes. They're very heavy.
Right.
And brought them over, and I just went, wow.
You love dates.
I love them.
Right.
And everybody knows that I love dates. So when I arrive in my hotel room,
full of dates.
Yeah, right.
So John, when you go to certain places, is it to sample the food or the culture or both?
Everything.
Really?
It's the culture, it's the history, it's the food, it's the people.
Well,
and people make a difference.
Right, absolutely. So when your show, when you say Globetrotter, you'll pick the destination, you'll go, you would take in the culture, and you would interview the people there.
Yeah.
And
because I want to learn about, you know, I'll give you a good example. In Dakar, they charge tourists 1,500 safers for beer, but if you go with the locals, it's only 500. So, you know, you have to know, and it's always good to learn from the locals.
That's
as
exactly
opposed to doing the tourist thing, you know.
Right.
In Cancun, the same thing. You go and you get out of the hotel zone, take the R1 bus for, I don't know, 6 pesos or something, and then you go into town. And it's the most wonderful thing. We had a quesadillas this big and 2 margaritas each, and it was $11. You can't even get that at the hotel. 1 drink. It's amazing.
1 drink is like $20, right?
It's amazing.
So you've been, where was that, other than Mexico, what other country that you love most?
Brazil.
Brazil, really? Yeah. How many times have you been to Brazil?
Oh, I can't begin to count. It's just unbelievable how many times. I've been going for over 50 years.
Really?
So it's been.
But John, you're not that old. How's it 50 years? You keep, you know, well, we look the same
I'm
age.
75.
Black
So,
doesn't crack, right?
It does. I feel it. However, the point is, Brazil is a very special place. Whenever I leave, I feel like I leave a part of my heart there, and I say that often.
Why is that?
Because it was the first trip, and I've been to various parts of Brazil, so it's not just Rio.
Right.
And when people go to Rio, they go to Rio, the city. They don't realize it's a state.
Right.
You have Parachi and Buzio and all the other wonderful places to go and visit. And so I've explored all of that, and also in Salvador Bahia, you have the largest African population outside of Africa. So it's a whole feijoada, you know, it's a mix of everything. You know feijoada, the great dish. And then going into Natal, it's a whole other area north, and it's the closest point to Africa, so it's a whole other thing where they do falu. It's a whole different dance. It's not the samba. And, you know, everybody has, you know, Sao Paulo's a whole other thing, you know, and it was amazing. In Iguazu, the city, I had the most incredible beef, and normally I don't like beef.
Right. Are you vegetarian?
No,
okay.
It's too much chewing.
Right.
Too much work. However, it melted in your mouth. Really? And then they took this pineapple and they dipped it in cinnamon.
Ooh.
And they put it in the rotisserie.
Oh.
Because, you know, churrascaria, and they just slice it at the table. Oh.
Right.
Oh. I mean, just thinking about it, you know.
So, John, John has written a book, and we'll talk more about it, called The Globetrotter. You have 3 other books prior to this, right?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, the first one was the African American Travel Guide, which actually, I never liked that title because it's really geared for everybody. It's how to prepare yourself, where to get visas, edit.
Right.
You know, you're not doing a fashion show.
Right.
And all these tips that people need. And so I had a white person say to me, "Can I read it?" And I thought, why not? However, there are other things, for instance, and it's really getting yourself together. The second book was a memoir, so it starts from my childhood up to date. And the
What was that called?
It was called Is that funny? I can't remember what it was. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which I can do anything. Anything
Right.
is possible.
Right, right.
Then the third book is Chasing Wild Ass, which is not what you're thinking. It's a narrative of more than 60 destinations,
Right.
including recipes to whet your appetite
Right.
and allow you to dream of those great destinations.
Wow.
So, and then the fourth book, Jon Haggins, The Globetrotter.
This is this book right here. Guys, look, an amazing book. That's an amazing book. And it's autographed for me. So, John, growing up, your inspiration, was it your father? Was it your mother? What made you to say, oh my God, I want to do this, I want to go this, I want to travel the world?
My grandfather was the first inspiration. I lived with him for 6 years, and he was an artist. And he could draw without even looking at, like a horse, for instance, because he grew up on a farm. So he could draw all of these things, and he was a carpenter, so obviously very creative. And so that was an inspiration. And in his later years, I said, what happens when you can't drive? He said, I'll get a bicycle. So nothing stops him. You know,
Right.
that's a great spirit. And that's, I think, it was embedded in me because he was such a great, terrific, and a great sense of humor.
Right,
also.
right. Like yourself? Right, like yourself?
Well, I don't know about me, but hey, he was definitely. And then my mother, I guess, in terms of fashion, she was, a fashion freak, I guess,
Right,
you know, in her younger years. So that was a combination.
Brothers and sisters?
I
Siblings?
have a sister, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You guys still get along and talk to each
No.
other? No, kids? Kids? You have kids?
No, I don't have any kids.
So, John, when you put the Globetrotter together,
Right.
that's your current book. And for guys, for instance, for conversation, he's going to be at Bloomingdale's
Yeah.
as a book signing on Thursday. But we'll get back to that.
On the 8th floor.
On the 8th floor. John, tell us about this book, your latest book. Tell what kind of book is it?
Well, it's almost like a tabletop book. I think that's what they call a
Coffee
coffee
table.
top. Yeah, right.
Coffee table book, right?
Right, because the quality is superb. The pages are absolutely delicious, and as you're turning the pages, you're seeing the photographs in 4-color. So you're living the experience, and there are recipes in there, so you can taste the country or the destination that you're visiting. And I think this is the book, I really wanted it to come out this way, and it's just a beautiful book. I really like it a lot.
Okay, now, real quick, how many, like this year, 2018, how many countries have you played in this year?
For this year, I think about 8.
8?
Yeah. So we'll see, what happens. I held off for a while because...
Do you want to tell us about the 8?
Well, let's see. I'm doing Ireland. I'm doing southern France. And then I'm going to go back to Brazil, and it goes on and on and on.
Okay. So how many, this is what, 6 months in? Have you gone, how far have you gotten into that so far?
Actually, have I done 2? I think it's only 1 so far because I had surgery on my knee.
Oh, okay.
So I had to hold off for a while.
So this book, it has recipes in it.
Yeah.
Are you a great cook? Do you cook?
I don't cook at all.
Come on, John.
But I eat. and I drink.
And you drink. And you have being a Globetrotter, you have some really well-kept secrets. Like in New York, what is your most famous restaurant in New York?
Well, unfortunately, it closed, and I saw it on the clip. It's Machiavelli.
Machiavelli, yes.
Yeah. And it unfortunately closed 2 weeks ago. It was a beautiful restaurant with beautiful murals, and she had designer furniture in there, and just a great spirit. First time I went to the restaurant, I stayed 7 hours. I couldn't believe it. I said, I've never stayed in a restaurant 7 hours. But that's the feeling. It was a very comfortable feeling.
Right.
But there are many others as well.
Like?
That I like. I call it al-mesas, which is Lebanese and Lebanese and another one of those Middle Eastern countries. The food they mix together. It's absolutely wonderful down on 21st Street. That's one of my favorites because of the kind of food. And then, of course, there are Greek restaurants like Loi,
Right.
L-O-I, on 58th Street, which I like very
Right.
much. But what I've done for the show is that each month we have a different nationality in terms of food. We have Bobby Vance for steak.
Right.
We have, and they also serve seafood.
Right.
But it's, depends on what kind of food that you're going for.
Right.
Or another Italian is leopards.
Really?
I call it leopards. And
Leopards,
he said, no,
right,
it's
right.
leopards. So, which I think is terrible for a name
For a restaurant, right. What is your favorite food? If you had to pick a favorite.
Mediterranean.
Really?
Mediterranean, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your least favorite?
I don't know if there is a least favorite. You
What?
know?
Okay, then, like you get up. What is your average? What is the average day of Jon Haggins?
I work 9 days a week.
So what do you do? You get up, you work out, you.
I go and do water aerobics.
What really?
Yeah, 3
Really?
times a week.
Wow.
And
That's
as,
unusual.
as a
That's
matter of
not-
fact, the Apple Store wanted me to come and take some classes because I got a new computer, and I said, I don't have time for classes. My schedule is too busy.
Right.
But I'm going to fit it in
Right,
because I need
right.
to know some of those.
Do you have employees working for you?
No.
Just you?
Yeah.
You do everything.
Well, I don't do the videoing.
Well, you know, you have a cameraman, but
Yeah.
other than that, you do the editing.
Yeah.
You every time I come here, you're editing.
Yeah.
You're editing.
Yeah.
And you are remarkable. I got to tell
I
you.
am?
Come on, John. You're when we were doing the research on you, I mean, I don't think there's nothing you haven't done.
Oh, there are a lot of things I haven't done.
What is it that you want to do that you haven't done?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
See, because you've done it all. You've done it all. What is your least favorite place that you've been?
Anguilla.
Really?
Yeah. Bored me to death. I read a book while I was there, which meant I was bored to death.
Really?
Yeah.
Anguilla, and most people love Anguilla.
I said, if we pass that store one more time, I'm going to throw up. I mean, there's like nothing to do on the island.
So what does the future hold for you?
A national show, I would like to do that. That would be really great.
You're close to that.
I hope
it's-
so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what have you done to put it out there? I mean, everybody knows you.
Well, not everybody.
Yeah,
but-
everybody knows you.
well,
Pretty much.
I don't know. But anyway, we're working on it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
be
That's
great.
awesome. And you are also, John. You're the voice of. Weren't you the voice of? Where are your kids? Do you know where your
No,
kids are?
It's 10 p.m.
It's 10 p.m. Do
Yeah.
you know where your kids are? And that's Fox.
Yeah.
Fox News. Every 10 p.m.
yeah, every day.
Then somebody goes, "Do you know where your kids are?"
Well, now
That's-
they have one voice.
Yeah, but
as
it was you,
opposed-
right?
Well, this was back in the 80s I did it. But that was then.
Right, right,
And
right.
now is now.
Right. So, John, this book. After this book, you're gonna put together another book.
Yeah, it takes a while because you got to get all the destinations together. It's, someone said to me, I think it was a distributor, said, how many books will you come up in the next 18 months? I said, you got to be kidding me. I mean,
Really?
travel you do not do in 18 months.
No,
you have to
right.
live through the experience.
And then you have to go back and put your notes together.
Right.
And whatnot.
Yeah, and the photographs. Because, for instance, I had 5,000 photos. I had to edit down to 250 for this book.
Are you
That was
serious?
very hard. And the way I did it was each destination only gets so many pictures,
Right.
regardless of how great they are. And there's one photograph that I absolutely love that I personally took, and it's from Vietnam, and
Oh.
it is just an amazing. Let me just show you.
Okay.
As a matter of fact.
And Vietnam was in a remarkable place since Vietnam.
Oh,
since the
absolutely.
war.
Oh, yeah. And the people are so amazing there. I mean, I was just, I love this picture in the rice fields.
Oh my goodness.
But also, this is the photograph that I love.
Okay, this is at Ho Chi Minh. This is the photograph. Can you guys pull that up? See this? John,
It was just one of those sites that I thought, got to get that.
where could we find your book?
Amazon.
Oh, wait, wow. And where else?
That's it.
Amazon. And Amazon sells everything.
Yeah.
Tell us about how did you get in Bloomingdale's?
They asked me. It's like Fox called me. What's her name? Rosanna.
Right.
Called me and said, you got to do the show. So that's, actually I worked with Rosanna when she was with Regis
Right.
years ago.
Right.
So, you just know one another.
So, John, now that are you living your life? Are you living your dream?
I don't know. I just take a day at a time.
But what would you give to, what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to do this
You just have to go for it.
and have no fear?
Yeah.
Do you have any fears?
No.
What is your favorite pastime?
Sleeping when I can.
So you actually, see, this is what I tell everybody. I love what I do, and there's not many people that can do that. John, I live my dream. John is definitely living everybody's dream to just get up.
No, I'm living my dream.
You're living, everybody wants to live your dream. You get up, you do what you want, and that's the freedom, being able to do what you want to do, when you want to do,
Yeah.
and go when you want to go.
Exactly.
What is your worst fear?
I have no worst fear.
No fears at all?
No.
So you sound like me. There's no fears. No fears, no.
Even when flying, no fear.
Oh, okay.
We had an instance coming back from Livingston to Joburg, and the plane dropped twice, 50 feet. And things were spilling, people were crying and carrying on. And I
You're
put
just
my
like-
hand on the next seat. I said, "Where does this plane land?"
We had somebody call in. Describe the taste of the Thai fruit durian.
Oh, durian.
Durian,
Oh,
yes.
that stinky fruit. Oh,
Yes.
it's horrible, horrible, horrible. But once you get past the smell, which is a bit of a trick, it is just, I don't know. It's something that most people won't go near, but it's a specialty of Asia, and people love it there.
Right,
And it's
right.
expensive.
How, really? Really?
I've never bought it, but
Right,
I was
is it-
told it was expensive.
There's another food. I think it was Sweden. The fish.
Oh yes, the stinky fruit
The
that's
stinky
been
fr-
rotting.
Yes.
I think it's Iceland.
It was Iceland. It was either Iceland or
was
Sweden.
Iceland.
How was that? Did you taste that?
No, I wouldn't
No?
go near that.
What is? Because you look like that person that would just taste any.
No, no. I am not. What's his name? Andrew.
Andrew Zimmer.
Yeah, I'm not him. Where he eats things that are going down his throat
Oh.
like this.
Do you eat seafood?
Of course.
Seafood is your favorite? And is it?
Well, I love fish, as a matter of fact. I love shrimp. I love mussels. I love all kinds of things. And often I go to this place called Chop Chop down on 25th and 10th, and I get the tom yum soup, which is great.
What is that?
It has mussels and tomatoes and shrimp and mushrooms, and it's a whole mix. I think there's a recipe for it in the book. I'm telling
So
you.
how is it that someone who loves to eat as much and travel the world and doesn't cook? Explain that one.
I don't have to. So,
But you have very sophisticated palate.
yeah.
So it must be hard to find good food.
Well, you know the difference. It was funny. I was at Sugar Bar one night, and I saw that they had a caipirinha on the menu. I said, "Oh, great! Is it any good?" She says, "It's fabulous."
Of course they would.
They brought it over. It was like lemonade. I said, "Take this away. Bring me a vodka tonic." I couldn't.
So
stand
explain
it.
to people what that drink was.
A caipirinha is the Brazilian rum. It's cachaça,
Right.
and it has limes that have been mashed and with sugar, and that's basically it.
It's very sweet.
Well, yeah, I guess it's sweet, but it's a great beach drink because you sit on Ipanema on the beach,
Right.
and you have a caipirinha and you go to sleep. You wake up, you have another, you go to sleep. And at the end of the day, you get a bill. You don't know what you've had.
Right. So what is the best restaurant you would consider in New York City?
Oh, I can't say the best restaurant because there's so many.
Come on, John. There has to be one that stands out. Have you ever been to 11 Madison Park?
I have.
What did you think
For
of that
lunch.
food?
It was okay.
Just okay. It was supposed to be the best, per se.
Per se, I've been there too, and they give you so little food.
Right. You're still hungry.
And I said to them, I hope you don't do this for dinner because there's nothing on the
they
plate.
do. They do. Actually, I took a friend to Per se. Afterwards, I had a slice of pizza. And it's a very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most expensive restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Where could you find the best drink in New York City? And what would it be?
I don't know. Well, I'd be looking for someone to make. Actually, it was interesting. I have a drink I call the float, and I have bartenders do it. And what it is a little ice, a little vodka, lots of cranberry, a splash of orange, and then you take the vodka and you go like this on the top, and you don't mix it. So the first taste is like whoa.
Whoa.
And
Whoa.
then it mixes itself. And meanwhile, for 15 drinks, you use up this much vodka.
Oh my goodness! And you're out
But
there.
because it's not a hard drink. It's not like scotch or whatever.
Right.
But it's so delicious and it's great for the summer.
Right.
And my friends in Florida and Connecticut, they know that we always do floats. And
Well-
it's just such a good thing.
What about Asian cuisine?
I love Asian cuisine. As
Like-
a matter of fact, I go to Flushing and I make a whole day of it. We go to lunch, and then after lunch we go shopping
Right.
and we get all this stuff. And you can get like 3 bags for $30. It's unbelievable.
People don't understand that's the real Chinatown.
Yeah.
Flushing is a real Chinatown in New York City, which is in Queens.
Yeah.
The best trattoria.
Oh, well, that was one. The one that just closed. I thought,
Right.
Oh.
Since that's closed now, where do you go? Where would you go?
I'd probably go up to Leopards. Yeah.
Leopards.
Yeah.
Leopards, right? Leopards.
Leopard.
Now, what about soul food?
Well, soul food, I go to Norma Jean's, Spoon Bread on 110th Street.
Okay.
For one. And the one on, the other one, Red Rooster, I don't like their food. quite
No.
honestly.
That's, what's his name? Samuel.
Yeah.
Samuel.
Yeah.
What about, let me see, what else food am I talking about? French food.
Unfortunately, my favorite French restaurant closed, which was Parador, and I really, and the guy George who owned it was really fantastic. He said the first review I did for one of the magazines, Sidney Poitier and James Earl Jones came in because of the review. So that was amazing. I haven't found another French one to replace that as yet.
You know what we haven't talked about? Ethiopian food.
I haven't had that.
Ever?
Actually, no. The Blue Nile. And I sat down, and they said, get off the table. I mean, I know the table from the
Because you sit on the floor, right?
No, he's sitting on a thing, but the table and the thing look the same. So I was sitting on the table.
Now, since you are Mr. New York, okay? You're Mr. Worldly, but when you're in New York, what's the best party atmosphere?
I don't know.
Come on, you were Studio 54.
Yeah, but that was then.
Okay, but you still do you go out at night on the weekends to?
Weekends I rest.
Okay.
Because I'm going all week.
Okay.
To various things, but parties I don't know. You know. And
Do you give parties?
No.
No.
If I do, it's in a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
You know, so that makes it simpler. I don't have to deal with anything.
What is the best comfort food for you? Like, say you're on the run.
Yeah.
Like you're.
Soup from the hospital.
You did say that. Oh my goodness, he did say that. Oh my God, you said that one day we were in here. I said, John, you said I was eating pizza, and you go, you got to try the soup, and I did. The soup was right here. It's Roosevelt, yeah, St. Luke's, right? The best soup.
Yeah.
It is the best soup.
Yeah.
Guys, you would think
And it's
hospital
cheap.
food.
And it's cheap.
You would think hospital food is horrible, but I did try. I was like, John said the best soup is in a hospital.
But this is from their restaurant.
Right.
On the first floor, so there's a whole other thing.
And when you travel, you've traveled a lot. Let's talk about the airlines.
What about them?
Which one would you prefer to travel?
Actually, there was one that went out of business, which I thought was fantastic, EOS.
EOS, ooh.
It was 48-seat flatbed,
Really?
and it went into Stansted, and we went over for the inaugural.
Right.
That was really the best, with cashmere blankets.
Really?
And each attendant had 6 passengers. And I remember the attendant coming over and said, Mr. Haggins, will you be having dessert with us? And who else, I said. So anyway, that was a great trip. But other airlines, I mean, it depends on where I'm going, you know. And actually, I really don't care. I just want to get there.
Which country has the finest experience in airline?
Actually, it was very interesting. I don't remember the airline, but I stopped in Iceland on my way to Stockholm. And they had the best candy I've ever had in my life. It
Really?
was chocolate with licorice, black licorice. And I said to the stewards, keep bringing them, keep bringing them. And I loaded up a bag of them
Right.
to bring back. It was just the best. I've not been able to find it here in this country, but it was like, mwah, absolutely incredible.
Okay, the best. Okay, restaurants. We talk boroughs. Do you travel outside of Manhattan? Do you
Of
go
course.
to other than Flushing?
I also go to the Portuguese area in Newark.
Really?
Which is
New
amazing.
Jersey?
Yep.
Jon Haggins goes to New Jersey.
Yeah, you take the tube and you get off on
Right.
Ferry Street, and then you walk down, and there's Agada, or whatever the name of the restaurant
right.
is, on Ferry Street. It is unbelievable. And the reason I was, or the way I was introduced to it, was that I was in Portugal, and I was having breakfast with the videographer, and this guy came over and he said, "How you doing?" I said, "Oh, mafia." And so what happened was he said, "You know, a friend of mine has a suckling pig restaurant. You've got to come."
Right.
So we took us off. It was an incredible experience. So he said, "You have to come to Newark." I said, "Oh, okay." So we went to Newark, and we did the whole experience there. It was absolutely. I've been back several times.
Wow.
And
What about Staten Island?
forget Staten Island. Forget Staten Island.
What about the Bronx?
I haven't been to the Bronx.
You are a true New York City person like me. We don't do the boroughs.
No, it's not so much that. It's just there's no reason to go to the Bronx.
But I thought the Bronx was the real Italians.
Oh, okay.
Well, when it comes to food.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, many years ago, I went to City Island, I think.
Right.
For seafood.
Right.
I think it's very commercial now, and it's not the same, someone told me, so I haven't been there. But and then I was introduced to a Cuban restaurant somewhere in Forest Hills, I think.
Really?
And it was the best sangria I've ever had.
Really?
And I don't remember the name of the place. I'll have to find out again. But this friend of mine took me there, and I thought, wow.
Really?
I was
Sangria
really
is great
blown
too.
away, yeah.
What about the hotel? The finest hotel experiences that you had?
Oh, there have been so many.
What stands out?
Well, you know, so many countries, so many different hotels. I can't even begin to think of which one it was the most outstanding, but I've been to so many hotels.
Is being in a hotel when you travel, is that a big deal for you?
No.
No, because you just sleep, just get and go and sleep.
First thing I look for is the safe.
The safe, right?
And make sure I put all the things that I don't want to lose, and I know where they are.
Right.
I think it was in Thailand on occasion, and this hotel didn't have a safe in the room, so I hid my passport and everything. Then I couldn't find it when I was leaving. I panicked. I went into a cold sweat.
So give us some good travel. Like we both travel. Give our audience some good travel advices when you go places, what to do and what not to do.
Okay, number one, what I do is take out the amount of money I think I'm going to spend. If I run out, I run out.
Right.
As an example, I was in Thailand and I spent everything that evening while I was out. So I took a tuk-tuk back. I had no money.
Right.
I said to the doorman,
What's
pay
a
him.
tuk-tuk?
It's a three-wheel little
Right, the little
wagon.
bicycle, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And so I said to the doorman, pay him.
Right.
So he paid him. I came down and I gave the
Right.
doorman. But it was like, I had to get back to the hotel.
Right, some way, right?
But the whole point is you can't be afraid. You just have to go and do whatever it is. I even negotiated with the tuk-tuk guy, and I had no money. That was really funny.
That's good.
You know, and I love that. Also, going into markets where you're not used to, and you're negotiating all the time.
Right.
I had one guy. He said to me, "Come into my shop," and I said, "When I come back." So as I came back, he said, "You said you come to my shop." I said, "So I lied." So all these things, you know, make a big difference. I was in Morocco, as a matter of fact, and I couldn't lose this guide, no matter what I said. He said, "No." I said, "I don't need a guide."
What do you think of Morocco?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I love it, I should say.
Right.
And I can't wait to go back.
What else would you just tell our viewers the most important things to do when you go to other countries and what not to do?
Well, the first thing you must do is pack a sense of humor. So you can laugh at yourself and laugh with other people, not
Right.
laugh at them. And I think that that's the way to gain friends and helps you to understand the culture. And you have to relax. I think that's the most important thing.
Right.
And also, all your valuables, make sure they're tucked away and you don't carry, you know, fancy jewelry, whatever you're walking around and you know, your wallet with all your money in it and
Right.
so forth. So you want to play safe, but at the same time, you want to enjoy yourself.
Would you suggest that when you go to a different country, to take your passport with you when you go or leave it?
Leave it where?
Leave it in a hotel in no safe.
Oh, leave it in a hotel. What do you need it for?
But identity, well, you know.
Who are you going to identify?
Well, you know,
with?
well, just in case somebody stops you.
I've never been stopped,
Okay.
so I don't know. Oh, which reminds me, I was in Côte d'Ivoire many years ago, and we was stopped on the bridge every time we came over, and I had no passport, nothing. I said, "Je suis American," and meanwhile, off I went. But you just have to have a sense of humor.
What is, in your travels, the culture that had the most fun? One that stands out.
I don't know, so many of them. You know.
But you had that one had to stand out, John.
You know,
Okay, what was the least fun culture?
I can't think of that either.
But everywhere you go, you have fun.
I do.
Right.
And you know why? Because I relax.
And that's the key to traveling.
Yeah.
That's the key to traveling. Now, let's talk about cruises.
Okay.
Yes, no.
People love cruises because it introduces them to a whole other, you know, destination, and you can get a taste, but you only have it for a couple of hours, and you go to the next place in a couple of hours. It's not the same as having to be, you know, land there and be in a hotel and then explore. It's a great way to be introduced to various destinations,
Right.
but you know, it depends on what you want to do. And
It's an acquired taste.
yeah, and also I think what happens, I had Joe Sharkey from the Times call me, wanted to do a story, and I said, "Okay, what are we going to do it on?" He said, "Black travel." I said, "Black travel? There's no such thing as black travel.
Yeah,
You
that
got
was
money,
a
you
little
travel."
odd, right?
Yeah, I said, "Do you have money? You travel." You know, I never heard of such a thing. Who's ever
Black
heard?
travel.
That's crazy. So anyway, I thought, what a strange. People have this strange concept. It reminds me of years ago, and I saved this article. It was back in 1967. this editor from Philadelphia came in, or Pennsylvania, somewhere in there.
Right.
Came in, and she wrote, her story was, for her, he designs Negro clothes.
What is that?
I don't know. I started laughing. I said, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I said, but the bigots, you know, these people who don't get it. You know?
Right. Even in the 21st century, do you still find that, John?
Well, I'm not in the clothing business.
But still, but I'm saying, like the guy said, let's write black travel.
Right.
That's odd.
Yeah.
That's odd. So how many countries are represented in this book?
I don't know. Probably 20 plus.
Now, when you did this, John, this wasn't done in 1 year. Like, you didn't travel all these. No. How many years did it take you to 20 countries? Was it 2 years? How long did it take you to do this book? From start to finish?
Writing the book took 9 months.
Traveling,
but
putting it all together.
traveling was probably 2 years.
Wow. And how many pages are in here? Just like
241.
What's your next?
240.
Your next book is going to be has to be bigger than this.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Actually, I prefer that size.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? This is a very, very, very great book. And the cultural Africa. Tell me about your travels to Africa.
Oh, what an introduction. My first trip was Cote d'Ivoire. And, this is very funny. I was in the market the first time. I'm not used to haggling. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, my friend. I said, I'm your best friend. He says, you know my friend, you know by nothing. So, again, you laugh.
Right.
Humor. So, anyway, I've done 12 countries in Africa, which I love. And going from Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Senegal, the Gambia, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Namibia, South Africa, Zambia, Mauritius, I think that's 12 altogether.
Right. Have you
Botswana as well.
Have you ever been on a safari?
Oh yes, in Botswana. As a matter of fact, I was telling someone I went to 5 different camps, and my favorite was Stanley's. And walking with the elephant, he puts his tusk on my head and stuff, and I go, yuck. But anyway, and riding elephants, I've done all that stuff.
Right.
And
Did you glamp when you were in Africa?
Did I do what?
Glamp. You know what glamping is, right?
No.
Glamping is. It's not camping, it's sophisticated, it's fine camping. Like, you've never heard of glamping?
No.
Glamping is where, say you're staying, instead of tents, you're staying in a customized tent with the lights and the servants.
Oh, that was Botswana.
Yeah, where you stayed outside.
No, this was a full tent.
Right.
And actually what was nice was they had oriental carpets on the floor, 4-poster beds.
Yeah, that's glamping.
Armoire, and a full bathroom and the whole thing.
That's glamping.
And a little porch outside so you can watch the savannah, you know.
Right.
There's no jungle, it's a savannah.
Right.
And so we've done that. So when I was going to India on the last trip to Gujarat, they said we're going to have tents. So I said, I love tents. You know, a friend of mine said, oh, you're not going to like it. I said, no, I love it. I get there, it's a real tent. And I said, excuse me, where's the bathroom?
No.
They said, oh, I said, what do you mean outside? So it was in the next room. So
you had to go outside?
No. It was next door, like it's there, in the tent.
Right.
But it was, divided.
Right, sure.
So I go in, I'm looking around, and I said, okay, where's the shower? And they said, well, you lather yourself and whatever, and then you throw some more water. I said, you have got to be kidding me. That was like the worst. And then when I got to Mumbai, I stayed in the shower for 30 minutes. I said, I couldn't believe that.
Have you ever been to Dubai?
I've only in the airport.
Really?
I've not been to the city.
Is that someplace you want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why haven't you been to Venice? Venice is one of those, of all the places, you've been to these exotic places.
I've been to 7 different regions of Italy, but not to Venice. And I don't know why, because I started in Cinque Terre.
Right.
Portofino and all of that.
Where's your favorite place in Italy?
Oh, there's so many.
I know, I love it. I love Italy. It's one of my favorite places.
So many. I just came back from Bologna.
Oh, Bologna is nice.
And what's the other? Modena, where they have Ferraris.
Right.
And then I was in Villa Familia. It's another one. And then I was also in another place, which I can't remember, but I was in at least 5 different destinations.
Right.
But it was quite an experience.
Now, let's talk about your favorite wines that you like to drink.
Actually, it's by taste as opposed to by name.
Okay.
So if it's a great wine, and I find that the wines, for instance, in Italy and France and so forth, because when I was in France, I was in Bordeaux, I was in Champagne, then we went down to Corsica, we had more wines, and we were in the vineyards, and it was just a whole incredible thing.
Right.
It really is about the taste, as I said, rather than the name.
Right.
And if it's great, it's terrific. Like, for instance, they were raving about this particular wine for a certain part of Italy, saying it's better than Prosecco.
Right.
I don't think so.
Prosecco's a little sweet, though.
Well, it's kind of tart.
Right.
Whereas I'd rather have champagne instead
Right.
of
And
Prosecco.
Americans don't understand the difference between champagne and sparkling wine.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, champagne can only be named champagne from that region.
Right.
And then the sparkling wines, and you have cava from Portugal, so
Right.
it's a whole other thing,
Right.
And that's their sparkling wine. So it's all these different countries that are producing these sparkling wines.
Do you feel that Americans have a problem leaving their culture behind to embrace other cultures?
Oh, good example. We were in a hotel in Cote d'Ivoire, and this woman wanted a Coke machine in the hallway. I mean,
Why do you think that happens, John?
I don't know, or McDonald's.
Right.
Oh, the funniest thing, we were in Egypt, and these people stopped when I was a tour operator.
Right.
They stopped and they wanted to have Kentucky Fried. I thought, I don't believe this. Anyway, someone got very sick. I said, that's what happens when you go.
Why, John? Why do you think Americans do that?
Because they're limited. They don't open up their scope, and they need to open up their scope and try something totally new.
Because the first thing you see Americans do, they want to go and find someplace American.
I don't get that at all.
I don't get that at all.
No.
I was in Florence, and these Americans are like, "Oh, where's their McDonald's?" I'm like,
That's crazy.
You came all the way to Florence to go to McDonald's?
That's crazy.
I don't understand. I find that Americans. What about African Americans? Is it worse for African Americans? Is it hard? Like, do you meet a lot of African Americans when you travel?
I see, no matter where I go, I do see, well, I don't know if African American, they could be from Africa,
Right.
but I do see our people.
Really?
Wherever I go,
Oh,
which I think is interesting.
That's very interesting because when I travel, we've been a lot of places, but I find a very little Black Americans, I must say. I see Africans, like all over Italy, there's a lot of Africans.
Oh, yeah.
But places like Iceland and Sweden, I didn't see a lot of Black people.
Let me think. I don't remember Sweden as, blacks. I don't remember that, quite honestly. I was so preoccupied with what I was doing, so I don't remember.
Right. So when you go, when you immerse yourself in the culture.
Absolutely.
You don't do anything. You keep away from the tourist side of it. You find, how do you?
Well, no, there's some tourist things that I do because it's like in Paris, I said, I want to show off some of the, like Montmartre
Right.
and going to the Louvre and so forth.
Right.
So you want to do those things that tourists do.
Right.
But also we found there was a restaurant that was in the tourist area, and it was the worst. I sent the food back. But then we looked on Yelp, and we found one outside of that region, and we went back twice. Best.
Really?
It was 57 euros for a 3-course dinner with wine.
Wow.
For 2 people.
Wow.
And
wow.
whereas at Café Fleur, it was $57 euros for the worst crap in the world. I think it was cassis pain blanc and a beer and some terrible onion soup and a sandwich. It didn't make sense. It was horrible.
Would you encourage African Americans to experience Europe? Or where would you tell most African Americans, where would you tell African Americans to, what culture would you want to experience?
I say that if you're an African American, the first trip you should do if you're doing an international is go to Africa.
Right.
Because when I came back, I had a new center.
Right.
It was amazing. I was telling my mother the story, and I was in tears, and she didn't understand, but it was glorious tears because I was so proud of the whole experience.
Right.
And I think going there first, and then go wherever you want to go after.
Right.
But it just gives you another center, you
Right,
know.
right.
And the food is wonderful, and it's fresh. And it's just, I couldn't eat chicken when I came back from Cote d'Ivoire.
Really?
Because their chicken was so fresh and wonderful compared to the stuff we get in the
Right,
supermarket.
right,
here.
right.
So it's like,
Did you, when you were in Africa, did you experience the tribes, the people? Did you go to different?
oh, yeah. As a
You know.
matter of fact, it was funny. I was flying over, and the director at that time of the South African Tourist Office was sitting next to me. And this woman was telling a story, and I said, could you listen to the rest of the story? I have to go to sleep. So meanwhile, she had all these granola bars. So I said to him at one point, we were going touring all the way down to South Africa, to Cape Town. So on the way, I said, you know, I really wanted to see the locals.
Right.
So he says, I've arranged that. So we arrived in this village, and there was a big ceremony and the whole thing. And we go into this tent, and the men are on one side, the women are on the other, and they bring in this live chicken in front of me, and I go, oh God, don't tell me I have to kill this. There's no way I'm doing this.
Right.
And they took it away, they brought cooked chicken, and then they had some beer, and they brought it along. And I said, no thanks. And he said, oh man, drink the beer. So I pretended I was drinking.
What was the beer like?
I don't know. It was
Just-
homemade beer. There's no way I was going near it.
Right.
And then for dinner, all this stuff looked like porridge. I said, I can't eat this.
But they look at it as an insult, though, right?
Well, I don't, you know what, I couldn't do it. So I went tap, 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 Miss Granola Bar. So I had one of those. And that next morning I said, everything you pinched, because there's 12 of us, I said, everything you've pinched from the hotels, let's put it in a bag and give to the village.
Right.
So it was a big sack like this. They was so happy to have it. So we went off to a takeaway, and we had chicken pot pie, and I said to him, I said I wanted to see the locals, not live with them. So from there, we just continued, and you know, but that was an experience in a village, you know.
What is it like riding a camel or riding an elephant?
It's just a big animal.
That's it?
You
That was
know,
what they
and going up is funny, you know, because they're down on
Right.
their paws or whatever
Right.
they call it,
Right.
or their knees,
Right.
and then they get up, and it's like, whoa,
Right.
you know. But it's a very pleasant experience.
And your experience in South Africa, post-apartheid, how
Or
was
as
that?
they say, South Africa.
What was that like?
It was wonderful. It was just absolutely.
No problems?
I didn't have any problems.
Have you had any problems anywhere you've been?
No, and also interesting. We went over to Robben Island, where Mandela was held for 27 years, and what happened was the guards, or I should say the guides rather, are now the guides. No, no,
Yeah,
the prisoners are now the guides.
Right. Wow.
And they're telling their stories, and I was just drenched in tears. I could not believe, you know,
Wow.
some of the horrible, horrendous things that happened to them. Even when I went to the castle, Amina Castle in Ghana, I fell to my knees with empathy because you could still smell the stench from
Really?
way back. It was like, oh my God. It was amazing.
Wow.
And that's in the other book. I talk
Okay.
about that.
Now, your first book was about travel.
Yeah.
Now, what was the most important thing about? Because you were telling it was called African American.
Travel guide.
What was that? Tell us about that. Because I wanted people. I grew up traveling, and I tell people there's nothing like traveling. Give us some pointers of what you need to travel. What is most important besides getting a passport?
Passport, and you need to inquire whether you need a visa for that particular country,
Right.
because some countries do require
Right.
visas. And for instance, with Vietnam, you need a letter from whoever it is that you know, you're going over to see.
Really?
So it's very weird. I hadn't opened my email,
Right.
so when I got to the airport, they said, "Oh no, you need whatever." I said, so I gave her my phone, and she printed it out, or
Right.
whatever. Otherwise, I had no idea.
What would they have done?
I couldn't get on the plane if I didn't have that
Wow.
paper. So you have
Wow.
to be aware of whatever the regulations are for the destination. A
Shots?
I have never taken a shot.
Not even Africa?
No.
Wow.
You're in town. You know, you're staying at the West Cliff. You don't need a shot.
Right.
But the most wonderful thing, the director or the manager of the hotel, I said, I want to go to Melville. So he said, I'll get the car for you. So I get in the car, and I said to the guy, stop. I want to get out now. And he says, no, you can't get out. It's not safe. I said, let me out. So I got out, and I passed the window, and there were two people sitting in the window, and they said hello. And I said hello, and I turned around, and they said, come for coffee. So I came in and were talking about their experience, and it was a mixed couple.
Right.
So we were talking about their experience of South Africa. And next door, this girl was painting this mural of her experience of, and I said, you know, it's a 24/7 painting. This is fantastic. Then she says, my friend has a Mexican restaurant down the street. I went down there, and the other people who were in the car, they had gone off to Sanson, which is
Right.
the shopping thing. And when they came back, I said, oh, God, you came back too soon. Anyway, they said, we should have stayed with you because you had more fun. But, you know, you have to explore.
Right, right. Who was your favorite person that you've interviewed? In what country?
Favorite, I don't know if it's a favorite, but I've interviewed
Most interesting.
Bishop Tutu.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well,
If
actually,
he was-
interviewed him here in New York.
Okay.
And I had met him one of those places, Aruba, as a matter of fact. I had met him earlier and arranged the interview here. And he talked about, you know, the apartheid and what he's doing now, and basically, so it's a fascinating thing.
Right.
And then Helen Gurley was the other, which I thought
Helen
was,
Gurley Brown, right?
yeah,
Yes.
she was here in the studio, and we talked about. She said, "I've known you since you were a pup." Since 66
60s, right?
or something like that.
Wow.
So, you know, just, I don't know, just different people. And
Right.
there are people on the road who are fascinating also along the way. There was one guy, I'll never forget, in a hotel in Porto. He said he was 50, and I looked at him and I said, God, he could be my dad. I mean, he looked like, you know. And later, as we're having breakfast, he came into the room and I said, David, who is that guy? He said, the guy you just interviewed. I said, he looks so old.
Wow. Wow. Well, guys, I got a few more minutes. Jon, this is the book. Everybody, go to Amazon. I got 5,000 people on my Facebook page, guys. You
That's
need to
fantastic.
go. You need to go to Amazon and pick up Jon's book. Jon, this is an incredible, incredible book. Which is the best part about this book that you like, Jon?
The fact that it was produced the way I wanted it produced.
You mean printed or produced? Like
Printed. And also the layout artist,
Right.
Vicky Swisher, she did a marvelous job in putting it together.
Right. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, Jon, so they can interview you or talk to you, how would they get in contact with you?
Just email me, JONHAGGINS@AOL.com.
So, and Jon will be at
Bloomingdale's
big time.
in the houseware department on the 8th floor this Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m.
59th Street, Bloomingdale's, guys. 59th Street.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to know this guy.
Oh,
I'm
it's
happy to know
mutual.
Jon. No, Jon, you are amazing. Jon, I thought I'd been to a lot of places. Jon Haggins is truly the Globetrotter, man.
Oh.
Jon, okay, I'm looking forward to your next adventure. I want to go. You know what? I got a jet. You can just tell me where to go.
Okay.
You know, that's the deal. Guys, I want to thank everybody. Thank you for being on the show, Jon.
Thank you for
I want to
having me.
thank everybody for watching 30 Frames a Second. Guys, we bring it to you live every week, uncut. We have some great stories coming up. As you see, Jon Haggins is the man. Guys, I've known Jon for a long time. It took me a long time just to get him on the show because he's so sought after. But guys, always remember this. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're still among the stars. I'm Greg Lassiter for 30 Frames a Second. And Nat will be here next week, or Nat and I will be here next week. So take care, guys. Thank you, Jon.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I hope you got all the information you need.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll be there to support you. I'm gonna bring some friends too.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah, we need friends coming.
and yeah, I'll make sure people buy the book.
Oh, good.
And you can autograph it, right?
Yeah,
You can autograph the
absolutely.
book, yeah. So I can't wait. This book is amazing. This is my coffee table book. So
Okay.
I love it.
Sorry,
I love
it's
it.
not bigger.
No, that's okay. Bigger is not always better. It has substance. It has a lot of substance in it. So I'm looking
It's
forward.
helpful information, I think, for anyone who wants to go to a destination.
Definitely. Where can I find your other two books? Other three books.
Amazon has the Chasing Wild Ass
Okay.
also,
All right.
and the Yes I Can.
Okay. Cool.
The woman who wears my clothes feels very sure of herself. She knows that she's going to look good and she's going to make a good entrance and a good exit.
And this is Jon Haggins, the man who's been dazzling the fashion world with sexy and sensuous fashion since the mid-'60s. Born in Florida, but raised in New York, Haggins always wanted to be a designer. This dream came true right after graduation from the prestigious Fashion Institute of Technology in the Big Apple.
My first job was as a pattern maker, which is weird, and I hated it. I quit after 4 months. I said, this is it. I became a blouse designer for a day and a half, and they fired me because I knew nothing about blouses.
But Haggins knew a lot about dresses. He got his first big break in a nightclub of all places.
There was a wonderful club and a wonderful lady, Sybil Burton, who had just divorced Richard Burton, and was called Arthur. And my friend Myrna and I used to go every night. And she would have us in. We went to all the parties, and I would make a dress a day, and we would experiment.
Soon, Jon's fashion flair caught the eye of the people he needed to know.
And before I knew it, I was in business without even wanting necessarily to be in business.